Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's family.
Man, having a lot of fun watching this postseason baseball right now in October, and you can't talk October baseball without talking to our next guest. One of the best postseason managers of all time, Joe Maddon, zooms in to join us now here on the Extra Point. And Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a little rainy here in Pennsylvania, so it's not so bad being cooped up all day, but I'm doing great. The 3 Gs, golfing, gardening, and grilling have been very prominent in my life right now, and I am watching playoff baseball as we speak.
Does a shot and a beer, is that part of the equation as well?
Woof. I've kind of put that behind me a little bit. It's more like a nice glass of red.
There we go. Yeah. Nice glass of red and watch the Astros and the Mariners. That sounds good. So
yeah, and their pitcher today, Valdez, I'm a big fan.
So are you still, you've stepped away from baseball, you're an author now, but have you really stepped away from baseball? Are you still watching it like a manager, or do you watch it like a fan?
I was not watching it all. During the summer, I was really ensconced in all these other things. I've been having a great time. My mom's here in town, my family relatives, of course, my wife, Jay. So I'm doing like civilian things. And now with the playoffs being on again, and the fact that I'm doing things like this, the book was coming out. I got a podcast with Tommy Verducci now, and I worked a little bit with MLB, Sirius. So I had to start watching again. I've enjoyed it. Quite frankly, I have enjoyed it.
What was it like putting pen to paper, I guess, going to the keyboard and writing this book and taking everything in your brain and writing it down to maybe help others in a leadership position?
Well, the response, you're right, but I didn't actually do that. I talked into my dictaphone when I was riding my bicycle for about 90 out of 100 days, about 100 hours of tape that I gave to Tom, and then give it to Tommy on a nightly basis, Sean Desmond from 12, David Black, our agent, and then my wife's sister Louise would transcribe it. The next day they'd come back and say, hey, drill down here a little bit more deeply, dig down here more deeply. Have you thought about this? Give us more of that. And that's really how it evolved. And then Tommy's a spectacular writer, and you're seeing his ability to put words together as well as do great research.
Well, and I think about try not to suck. I mean, that's something that I've kind of, I don't know. I think by sucking at things that maybe I started to live my life, but I like that, but I never was able to articulate it in that simple of a way. But I mean, how did you come up with that one?
Started with try not to embarrass yourself. In Major League Baseball on a daily basis, we got so many things going on and people, cameras, whatever. We're just trying not to embarrass ourselves daily. So I was talking to David Ross in the dugout one time. I said, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying not to suck. And then it just blew up. And I said it to Javi when he came up, Baez, before he played his first game there when I was there. And as he's walking out the door, I said, Javi, please do me one favor. Please try not to suck out there. And he loved it. And then that became part of the dialogue. People asked, what'd you say to him? So I threw it out there and it stuck. It absolutely stuck.
And then your other quote in there, don't ever permit the pressure to exceed the pleasure. That's a tough one because I feel like you almost have to have pressure eat you alive at some point to really understand that. Or were you able to kind of, I don't know, shift pressure to pleasure at some point? What would be your advice to young baseball players or just anybody young who's trying to be successful?
Well, yeah, I think that's a positive word. I like expectations and pressure. To me, if those words are attached to what you're doing, then there's probably something really good at the end of that rainbow. So I like that. I think it should bring out the best in you. It's going to cause you to dig deeper. It's going to cause you to focus more. It's going to cause you to do better prep, I believe. So that, and combined with expectations, when we went into 16, my mantra was to embrace the target. We had a target on our back after 15 because we ascended so quickly. So why not embrace the target? Why not look forward to all this stuff? Why not want to be that group or that person? I believe it should bring out the best in you. If you have self-confidence and you know how you got where you're at and the work was legitimate that got you there, there's no reason to walk away or cower from it.
And you look at your ascension in Tampa and then going to Chicago, and I those seem like two pretty different situations. What were some of the commonalities about that, though, for anybody who's listening to this that is looking to lead, whether it's a baseball team or just simply a family at home?
Commonalities, the really good baseball players in both teams. When we got it together in Tampa Bay in 08, Andrew did a wonderful job of, we had some really nice young players, but Denny brought in and sprinkled some wonderful veterans. They're absolutely necessary to that success, whether it was Troy Percival, Eric Kinski, Cliff Floyd, these guys are a big part of why that younger group was able to play as well as they did. And then you go to the Cubs, David Ross, Johnny Lester, Miggy Montero, John Lackey. There was a nice mix of really good youthful players and veteran leadership. That's really important. I mean, it's hard to do it one way or the other. Sometimes it's, with just veterans alone without the energy of youth, it's hard. And if it's just young and in those tough moments, they don't really know how to work their way through it. So I thought both Andrew and Theo and Jed did a great job of morphing together both kind of aspects. This young, energetic group with some really good veterans that had a lot left in the tank that were able to spread their wisdom among the entire group.
And for you, do you, now that you've been able to kind of step away from it a little bit, does it make you appreciate it even more, how challenging that was to get to the points and be successful and win a championship in Chicago when, no one else has been able to do it?
Right. I've given myself a little time retrospectively, but I haven't really, again, dove into my mind on that one. It's not by any means easy. We won three. We got to the NLCS 3 consecutive years, one World Series. And I hear people talk about the group not being successful. And I say, what are you talking about? There's 30 other teams. Actually, there's a couple that have, but to be in the NLCS 3 consecutive years is quite successful. And then even getting to the playoffs the next year. So that's pretty much more of what I've been, I think about, because that consistent pattern of success is important. Yes, the World Series never, yes, I imagined it. I can't tell you that I didn't. The first time, 108 years, wonderful. What an experience, parade, everything else. But the consistency with which we did things and how we ascended there, to me, is probably the most special part of that.
So do you find yourself reflecting on it more, or do we think that there's going to be another sighting of you in a dugout somewhere, giving some signs? And I guess the question is, are you finished leading in baseball, or what's the next step for you?
I don't think so. The next step would be that somebody would ask me to do it. What I'm talking about now, and I'm trying to define where I think analytics has a place in the game as opposed to where that is ascended to. Also, it's gotten to the point now, I think it's overbearing and too much. So it would require the right dance partner. I got to get with the right group that understands the tried and true baseball methods being supplemented by information, numbers, analytics, as opposed to baseball supplementing this craze regarding the word analytics and the fact that people think it's a perfect science, which it is not. So I need the right dance partner for me to want to get re-involved.
How much did that kind of clash when you were in Anaheim, the analytics versus your style?
Oh, there was clashing. There's also a lot of similarities or familiarity too. It's just at the end of the day, I've talked about it in the book, the point where Terry and I have, when I was upset about calling down to the dugout. But the reason why I brought that to anybody's attention was to validate what I was talking about regarding interference in the game. So that's just a moment. The part I didn't really like was when right before a game, people come downstairs and try to tell you how to use your bullpen, as an example. When people interfere with your preparation, that really is difficult. It puts too many different thoughts in your head and it becomes confusing. It does by no means make anything more clear. So that's all of that. I mean, I want that stuff, but I want it to a certain point of the day where you get all the intel, the info, and then that group steps back and permits baseball coaches, managers, et cetera, players to go ahead and play the game. Do your postmortem if you have to a little bit, but wait till the next day if there's anything negative to really rehash. Let it go after the game. There's a lot of emotion in a clubhouse. Come back the next day and let's talk about it. But it gets to the point where people walk right in the clubhouse after a tough loss, and that's no good either.
For you, were you like riding your bike around there in Pennsylvania, talking into your phone? Or was it a Peloton? Or if you would have been in Pennsylvania watching, is that Joe Maddon riding down the street talking to himself? Give me the visual there.
Arizona. It was Arizona.
It's out here.
Yeah. On up Ellsworth Road. It was during a pandemic, so we weren't doing anything. That's what permitted me the time to do all this. 100 hours of taping over 3 months. I could have never done it another time of the year. So 100-some degrees, kind of shirtless. I had a dictaphone in my pocket, and I had a fuzzy little microphone clipped to my necklace up on my neck. And I would just roll. I would roll, a lot of suntan lotion on. But I felt that it was easier for me, and it is easier for me, to think as I'm moving. If I really want to dig deeply, try to remember what had happened in the past, and I really want that stream of consciousness, I need to be moving, and that's what I did.
What are some of the other good stories we can find in the book? Maybe just give us a tease. Like what are some of the other fun ones that kind of help shape the man you are?
Well, it starts out with whatever you put out there comes back to you. I was really going through a tough moment when I got passed over as a major league coach. I was in the minor leagues, kind of running everything. I was the coordinator and had been a manager, scout, everything else. And then I was passed over for the job, and I got really upset and really stepped outside of my character, kind of a thing. And I really was wanting to leave the Angels at that point, which is unthinkable. So I'm getting on an airplane, America West, out of Phoenix to Midland, and I'm going down there. And I didn't want to talk to anybody, but the lady sitting next to me wanted to talk. And at some point, she just uttered the phrase to me, remember, whatever you put out there comes back to you. And I did. What was that? And she said it one more time. And I'm just here to tell you, I mean, everything changed with that one phrase. And I still utilize it when I think I'm getting a little bit out of step, a little bit out of character, maybe go a little bit sideways. For me, that puts you back in step immediately. Put positive vibes out there, you get positive in return. You put negative out there, that's what you're going to see. So that one little phrase by a person I never knew, never saw again, and I still utilize it today, and it's the first chapter of the book.
You think that she was there by chance, by random chance? You think there was that she was supposed to be there speaking to you at that moment?
I do believe in things like that. The interconnectivity of everything, synchronicity, it's all out there, man. Because other things happen throughout your life that you really, why did that just happen to me now? Why was that? Yesterday I had a phone conversation. I want to get into detail because, what I'm doing right now, a lot of people love it, but there's also some people that don't like it as much. But the person I spoke with yesterday is someone I really value their judgment, their mindset, and you just keep going, man. You're doing is absolutely right on it. Talking to everybody, they're digging on it. So when you get that kind of support and validation from somebody like that, it gives you more power with what you're talking about, what you want to say. So all again, synchronicity, interconnectivity. That phone call before I started all my interviews yesterday was very helpful.
How does gardening and how does that go into it when it comes to the interconnectivity of? Are we getting deep here? I don't know. Is that another book?
Yeah. How could you not be a gardener? I love because out there is where I started. Lived in East Mesa on Lindsay, and I was big into in the wintertime scalping my lawn and coming back with the perennial rye and overseeding it. I would level it out. I would put the sprinkler system on 6 times a day for 1 minute to keep it moist until the temperature. Listen, I was into all that stuff. And then flowers. I mean, if I could pan around my garden right now, you'd be really impressed back here. Place is looking awesome. So it's just a method. It's kind of a mindlessly beautiful thing to do. You just get out there and you get involved. It's a living, the plant's a living thing. And when you take care of them properly, they like food and they like water. So when you take care of them right, they respond. So I'm into that a lot. I've always loved plants. I could have been a florist, I think. So I've really been enjoying that a lot too.
All right, just a couple more before you get out of here. We appreciate your time today. When it comes to just the Major League Baseball postseason, do you have a World Series pick? Who do you think hoists the trophy?
Well, I still like Houston. I have the game on in the background right now, and they're panning their lineup, and reminded me why I thought that. And then I just love their pitching. I think their pitching is that deep and it's that good. Of course, there's other really worthy suitors and whatever, but I like this kid today, Valdez. This kid is really good. They brought Javier out of the bullpen. I'm a big Javier guy, and of course Verlander, Garcia. They got guys up and down there. McCullers, they're really good. They got some good stuff, and they're deep. So I've been a fan of them. I like Dusty a lot too. And I'm not just saying I'm rooting for Dusty to win it all. And what I'm saying is I just think talent-wise, depth, I like them. Yeah,
it'd be nice to see Dusty, after knocking at the door for so many years, kick the thing down.
Sure.
You were at one point out here in spring training. Were you living in like an RV park, or do you come back out here in the spring? Will we see you out here riding your bike around shirtless and going back to the RV, or what's the plan?
Well, we sold our house in Tampa and actually bought a home there, so we actually have a home.
Nice.
But when it was with the Cubs, yeah, I would live in the cousin Eddie lived out on off of Higley out there, and right by the Boeing area out there where they make the helicopters. I was by Longbow golf course right across the street. I did that then on Val Vista and University. My kids are really close by. And then the one out on Ellsworth. So, yeah, I had some really cool RVs, 45-footers, got everything you want. But I sold that. I'm out of that business right now, the driving RVs. Not to say that I'm going to come back to it, but we got a beautiful pad out there near the kids and the grandkids. So that's where we'll be hanging out.
Well, that's awesome. More Joe Maddon here in Arizona. We appreciate your time today. We appreciate your perspective on so many things, and look forward to reading your book when it comes out and hear more of the genius behind the man, Joe Maddon.
The Extra Point. I love it, man. Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.